Before we get started in Dharma talk, please join me in invoking the Buddha's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear Venerable Abbot, dear Sangha, good afternoon. So we're going to take a break from discussing the Lotus Sutra today, since we are in the month of celebrating Ullambana, which is coming up for us. It's our second most important Buddhist holiday of the year. So we will be conducting that ceremony on the 18th of August at 10 a.m. I invite everyone to join us for this auspicious ceremony. So today I'll be talking a little bit about the Ullambana, or about Ullambana in the ceremony that we have, or will have. Okay. Ullambana. So Ullambana is a Sanskrit word. So Ullam means being upside down, and Bana means a basin. And so together we metaphorically call it the way of relieving the upside downness of people. And upside downness in this case means those that are suffering the lower realms of existence, the 3 lower realms of existence of hungry ghosts, animals, and the hell realm. So the moral of the story of the Ullambana Sutra, which we will be chanting for this month and during the Ullambana ceremony, there's actually 2 main Ullambana sutras. There's the shorter Ullambana Sutra that we will chant, and then the longer sutra, which is titled "The Buddha Speaks About the Deep Kindness of Parents and the Difficulty of Repaying It." And in this sutra, it mentions the sacrifices that the mother has or goes through as she gives birth to her children, or during the birthing process. So I'll discuss a little bit about that as well today. But the shorter Ullambana Sutra is essentially the story about Mahamudgalyana, which is one of the Buddha's main disciples. And Mahamudgalyana, when he attained the 6 spiritual powers and had the eye of wisdom that he achieved via achieving deep meditative practices, or jhanas, and he wanted to see where his mother was, right? Because he's able to see past lives, he's able to see in a spiritual realm of some sort. But he was able to locate his mother suffering in a hungry ghost realm in hell. And the picture that we receive, or that we have through the discourses and through Buddhist imagery of a hungry ghost, are these skinny, skeleton-like beings with long, thin necks and big beer bellies. Meaning that whenever they try to eat, they're unable to swallow because their necks are so small, they're so narrow. And so when Madhyana saw this, he, through his spiritual powers, attempted to give an offering to his mother, an offering of a bowl of rice. And the mother, being a hungry ghost in hell, took the bowl of rice with one hand and shielded the rice with the other hand, trying to not allow the other hungry ghosts to see that she has food. Otherwise, everyone would be scrambling to her and trying to get that food, like hungry animals. Get it? Pun intended. But every time she attempted to take a bite of the rice, it turned into flame, and she was unable to eat it. And so worried, Madhyana went to the Buddha and asked him and told him about his concern, what he saw, what had happened. And the Buddha told him that he alone does not have enough power to help alleviate his mother's suffering in hell as a hungry ghost, that he would need the collective power of the Sangha, the monastic Sangha. And so he gathered 99 other monks and himself, and together on the Pravarana day, which is a kind of offering day that monastics have after our rains retreat, our 3-month rain retreat. At the end of it, we have a Pravarana day, which allows the lay Sangha to make offerings to the monastics as acts of generosity and merit. So during this Pravarana ceremony, the lay Sangha brought and offered food and drinks and cloth for robes and medicines, etc. And the monastic Sangha conducted their Ullambana ceremony and transferred the merit of those offerings to the deceased and to help alleviate the suffering of those that are in the lower realms of existence. So that's essentially the bottom line of the ceremony of the Ullambana. But the moral story of Ullambana and of the sutras is all about filial piety. And so filial piety is an essential and core aspect of Buddhism. It is the ability and understanding that without filial piety, without the concern and care and devotion to our parents, we would not exist here, right? And so it's teaching us that through our kind and generous acts, regardless of your relationship with your parents, whether you have cut them off, whether you're estranged, or whether they have passed, is unimportant. Because regardless of our relationships with our parents, with anyone in general, especially family, whether you speak to them or not, whether you love them or not, there is a moment in time where that love is mutual, where that love is unconditional. And in Buddhism, we believe in that everyone is related to us up to 7 generations. Meaning, in the past 7 lives that you've had in the world, or in any world, there may have been a time where any of us, or all of us, were once related to each other. Someone could have been my parent, or my sibling, or my significant other, or whomever, right? And so, if you love your parents, or significant other, or your children with such unconditional devotion, why not extend that same love, unconditional love, for everybody else, if in the past they were related to you? So what is the difference? Just because you don't know them now, or you don't recognize them as being a past relative, does not mean anything. It doesn't mean that we still cannot show that love and that care that we would for our family. And so when we, in some of the sutras, and some of the earlier sutras, and in the Agama collection of the sutras, it's mentioned that as, this is specifically for Buddhists, but for Buddhists, there are 3 aspects of gratitude you can provide to your parents in this life. The first one is to simply care for them, right? Is to provide whatever means they need to survive or to care for themselves, whether this is food, medicine, clothing, shelter, etc., right? This aspect of gratitude is simply beneficial for this life only. The second act that we can do is to show them a better way to live, is to help them cultivate kindness and generosity and wisdom and morality, right? Whether it is trying to help them see their errors in the way that they think, they speak, or they act, whether it's helping them help you with volunteerism or charity, whatever it may be, right? You're doing things to benefit not just their body, the physical body, but also mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and you're helping them become a better person. The third, also called the superior, I forgot the Sanskrit word, but there's a word that we would call superior child, is what it's translated to. And the superior child are those that bring their parents to the temple. Right now we have two mothers here. And so these two mothers have superior children, according to Buddhism. I know. Don't let that get to your head, okay? And almost everybody, all at least member-wise, have brought their parents at least once, if I can recall. And so bringing them to temple doesn't necessarily mean they have to convert to Buddhism or to take precepts or whatnot, this or that. That is not important, right? Taking precepts, though, yes, technically makes you an official Buddhist. However, it is not necessary for your spiritual practice. The precepts are simply these acts of dedication, these acts of self-promises to yourself that you will hold yourself accountable for the things that you think, say, and do. And these precepts are simple. They're not commandments. They're not rules and regulations. They're common sense. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't commit sexual misconduct, and don't take intoxicants that are harmful to yourself or to others. Is there anything religious about those? No. And so, even though some may feel the necessity of taking precepts, it's not important. Because they're not promises to the Buddha. The Buddha's not here. He doesn't care what you do. They're not promises to your teacher or to the abbot. You don't know what you do behind closed doors. So it's not an act to say, hey, I'm going to promise you that I'm going to fulfill my duties and follow these precepts. No, I don't care what you do with your life. As long as you're a good person and you follow the precepts that you took willingly, right, with your own accord, your own volition, the promises, whether you break a precept or not, none of my concern. You've broken your own promise. I don't care. It's your karma, not mine. I will help you achieve good karma, but it is entirely up to you what you do with it. So, I'm off topic as usual. So, back to Ullambana. So in the, I will forget the title of this sutra. So in the Buddha speaks about the deep kindness of parents and the difficulty of repaying it, which is a beautiful sutra, and I highly recommend everyone try to read it. I'm going to list the 10 types of kindness bestowed by the mother on the child. The first is the kindness of providing protection and care while the child is in the womb. The second is the kindness of bearing suffering during the birth. The third is the kindness of forgetting all the pain once the child has been born. The fourth is the kindness of eating the bitter herself and saving the sweet for the child. The fifth is the kindness of moving the child to a dry place and lying in the wet herself. The sixth is the kindness of suckling the child at her breast, nourishing and bringing up the child. The seventh is the kindness of washing away the unclean. The eighth is the kindness of always thinking of the child when it has traveled far. The ninth is the kindness of deep care and devotion. The 10th is the kindness of ultimate pity and sympathy. Beautiful aspects, no? The sutra goes into more detail about each one. I'm not going to go through that, but it is a highly recommended discourse that you would read. So this is longer Ullambana Sutra. The shorter Ullambana Sutra that we will chant today is the story of Moggallana and his mother. And there's a question in my newly published book, The Buddha Journey. There was a question in there that asks, what is the benefit of praying for others, right? Because in Buddhism, we don't have a belief in a kind of deity per se, or God, or someone that's kind of manipulates our lives. And so prayer, for the most part, is, what's a kind word? Often is interpreted as superstitious, right? That's just words. Well, that's correct. It's just words. You can pray to the Buddha or the Bodhisattvas all you want, and you'll get nothing in return. That's not how prayer in Buddhism works. And so when we pray for the dead, which we will do for the Ullambana ceremony, right? We'll have a list of names of those passing, which if you want to include your deceased loved ones, this is a little tablet that we have that will have the names of those that are deceased. If you'd like to include yours, there's going to be a little QR code thing at the gift shop. You can scan and enter your deceased loved ones' names. But one of the main reasons why we pray during the Ullambana ceremony is not for the dead themselves necessarily, right? We believe in the power of transferring merits, right? It is a quantum, it is a quantum force in the universe, right? We know that everything is energy. And so even the thoughts and speech and action that we do has some quantum change in the universe. We know that. And so though praying for the dead may not necessarily do anything, one of the main reasons that we do it as living beings is to remind ourselves of the preciousness of life, of the preciousness of the relationships we hold with those that we love and care for. You're all alive today, but you have zero guarantee that you'll be alive tomorrow. Your parents may be alive today, but you have zero guarantee that they'll be alive tomorrow. And so imagine leaving the home or exiting a conversation or a situation or an event where you were cussing or belittling or just having an argument with a parent or a loved one or a sibling, whatnot. Imagine that being the last thing you've said to them, and then they die. That anger is going to fester way longer after their passing than any other feeling. Angry that the argument happened in the first place, anger because you left it that way, and anger because now you feel bad that that was the last thing you've done or said. So now you're going to hate and regret for who knows how long. So it's important to remind ourselves that regardless of our situation, regardless of the relationship, it is always better to think, say, and act with kindness and with love. And that is kind of also one of the morals of the stories of the Ullambana Sutras. And that even after someone has passed, especially parents, a parent leaving you is simply their physical form leaving. It's just one aspect of their lives that is gone. But they're never away from you. They're never gone from you. They're never separate from you. You are here, are you not? That means your parents had to exist for you to exist. And even when they no longer exist physically, they're still within you. Every ounce and being of your being has both parents in them, in you. So they're always with you, regardless of where they are in the world, whether they are living or they have died. They will never be separate from you. And that in itself is, I hope, is comforting to you. It's comforting to me. My parents live on the other side of the world, literally. And my mother, unfortunately, recently has had a lot of health issues, and I cannot be there with her. But I know that even though she's thousands of miles away, I still hold her within me, regardless of where she is. And that brings me comfort knowing that she's here, even though she's not here. One of the other benefits of the Ullambana ceremony is specifically the Pravarana Day, right, which is the day of offering, or something called the Sangha Day. It gives you the chance to create that merit during the ceremony and transfer that merit to your loved ones, dead and alive. The ceremony itself is for the dead, right? Because then after the main service, later in the afternoon, we do a secondary service for the deceased specifically. And that's where we take care of all the tablets. But it gives you the opportunity to reflect on your life, to reflect on your parents. Because during the ceremony, roses are pinned on you, right? And there's three types of roses that are pinned. If you are very fortunate and have both parents living, you get a red rose. If you are half fortunate and you have only one parent living, then you get a pink rose. If by unfortunate circumstances both parents are dead, then you get a white rose. And assets get yellow roses. But as you pin those roses on you, right, you reflect on who you still have in your life and who you do not. To remind yourself of the love and the gratitude and the joys and the sacrifices that your parents went through to have you, to raise you, to give you the best life that they could, to teach you, to nourish you, to nurture you. And so it's a reflection as you pin those roses and listen to the message of the Ullambana. It's a beautiful ceremony. It gives you a beautiful chance to really reflect and show gratitude to your parents and to your loved ones. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Am I at time? Oh, I get a good time today, for once. Okay. Questions, concerns, emotional outbursts.
And Ullambana. Have you ever been asked about that before? Have you ever thought about that or commented on it before?
I have not.
Just curious. Because I see, and now it's more obvious that I think it's the same outcome where you are paying tribute and you are honoring what the sacrifices and you're honoring the lives of parents, dead or alive. Mm-hmm. But I know for the other was it's dead. And it's mostly from a Catholic perspective. So it's interesting to see that there are, I'm thinking of the Venn diagram, where there are differences, but there are also commonalities. And it just kind of brings it full circle for me. It's an observation.
One thing that we can all agree on, regardless of religious background or religious belief, is that all religions, at the fundamental core of it, is about love. right, in its own shape, way, or form. And so that's just one version of showing love and gratitude to parents. Every religion, every culture has some form of ancestor, I don't want to say worship, but remembrance, tributes, memorial, etc., fill in the blank, right? And so that just goes to show just how important that honoring and remembering our loved ones is in all culture. Every culture has some sort of celebration, right? So yeah, I mean, I recognize that there's a lot of similarities, obviously, right? But also helps us recognize that, well, this must be important to love our parents, remember our parents. Whether you agree with them or not, whether they agree with you or not, right? Bringing them to temples of beautiful, your superior child, right? So the children are honoring their parents, and hopefully the parents will honor their children, regardless of their choices in life, how they live their life, what they choose to do with your life. Parents, they're 18. Unfortunately, it's no longer your concern what they do. Your only job now is to love them for who they are. That's it. Done your job. Good job. At least that's what I told my mother. Like, you're done. I'm out. Any other questions? Yes.
Last time we talked about the lower realms of existence, kind of states and lower realms of animals, Buddhist, and cows. Could you elaborate how that can be connected to Ullambana?
So the realms of existence in Buddhist cosmology is tedious. It is, I don't even know how to explain it. The belief in their physicality or their mentality is entirely up to you. Personally, I believe the realms of existence are both physical places, but more importantly, also mental scenarios, situations. I think in every realm of existence, okay, let me back up. From the physical belief of those places, of those realms of existence, every physical realm of existence has those 6 realms of existence also mentally. If that makes sense. So all the 6 have sub-6 realms of existence, okay? And so the 3 higher realms of existence are human, devas, and asuras. 3 lower realms of existence are hungry ghosts, animals, and hell, the hell realm. These are all, I'm going to stick with them being mental aspects right now. For the Ullambana ceremony, because Ullambana literally means upside downness, or rescuing those that are upside down. So if you look at the plane of existence, you have the 3 higher realms, and then you have the mirrored realms. So they're upside down. And so we are trying to save those that are upside down and mirror them back over, essentially. So the Ullambana ceremony helps us achieve that by doing good deeds, by doing charity. In most cases, the sutras ask you to uphold the 8 precepts for up to 7 days, and to offer pravarana basins to the monastics, right? All these good deeds, all these acts of generosity and merit building gives you this bucket of merit so that you can either be selfish and hold for yourself, or do what you should be doing in transferring that merit to the lower realms of existence to help them alleviate your suffering. And so in the story of Moggallana in the Ullambana Sutra, because he had such a large sangha to conduct the Ullambana ceremony, they not only saved his mother from the hell realm, but they saved, I forget what number it is, like 500 other beings in the hell realm to exit as well. This is essentially, to me personally, this is equivalent to kind of giving last rites to someone who's dying. In Buddhism, the final thoughts of someone that is dying is the most important. It is the final thoughts that will swing the pendulum in either a good rebirth or a bad rebirth. Because if you die with a negative, unwholesome thought process, hating that you're dying, hating that you're alone, hating that there's too many people, hating that you're sick, or hating that you can't move, blah, 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 blah. These are negative, unwholesome thoughts. And so when you die, that's the last thing you're thinking of. It's not going to be helpful to you. But if you're dying with positive, wholesome thoughts, and so in Buddhist perspective, chanting the Buddha's name, or chanting the sutras, or reading the sutras, or having the Sangha chant and recite the Buddha's names for you, you're able to hear that, you're able to visualize and mentally make that aspiration to be reborn in a better realm of existence, or in a pure land, or whatever you want to go. And so that's essentially what the Ullambana ceremony helps us achieve. Yes, ma'am.
You spoke about Quang and some of us have, experienced situations where our office is not at all. We have really difficulty in listening to in that way. So I suppose to come from your guys'
I'm sorry, what was the last part? What will give a more lasting impression to you? Someone who did something nice for you, that you appreciated, that you loved, and you would care for, and you'll remember for the rest of your life, maybe. Or someone that did the opposite. They harmed you, they said bad things about you, talked behind your back, maybe betrayed you, whatever it may be. What, to you, is a more beneficial, lasting impression? Actual question. But what would you hold more regard for? Right. So, back to saying, regardless of the relationships you have, anybody, parents, right? Those feelings you have are simply your own, first of all, right? They're subjective, according to your own perception, according to your own ideas and biases and discriminations, right? Someone did something bad to you. It may be bad in your eyes, but to me or someone else can be like, well, that's not really a bad thing. I don't see it as a bad thing, right? So what makes it bad? What makes it negative? What makes it unwholesome? To you, to me, anybody else? If we all see it differently, then who's right? Who's wrong? Right? If we all went outside and stared at the sky and looked at the cloud and say, what does this cloud look like? Every single one of us are going to have a different view of what this cloud looks like. And so the feelings we have toward people is your own. which means you also have the ability to change your perspective, to change your ideas, to change the way you feel and see them, right? Maybe our parents weren't the best parents in the world. Maybe they were abusive. Maybe they caused a lot of trauma. Maybe this or maybe that, whatever it may be, right? To hold them, to say that you hate them or you cut off contact or whatever it may be because of what they did may help you in the long run, right? You may say, this is for my mental health, for my stability, for my own sake. It is better that I distance myself from them, to let them go, to let them be. Because they did not treat me right, why should I treat them right? But that's the fault. That's retaliation. That's trying to seek revenge. You didn't treat me right, so I'm not going to treat you right. That doesn't help anything. You can't win hatred with hatred. You can't win a war with more war. It just creates more war. The only way we can truly win is to show love, to show compassion, to show sympathy and empathy. Empathy, that's what I meant. Empathy. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to allow them back in your life. You don't have to do anything besides say, thank you for giving me life. Thank you for not killing me. I don't know. Thank you for, let's just stick with life. That's the most important, right? But we are not obligated to show anything beyond gratitude. You can't win with hatred. You can't win with aggression and with negative emotions and ideas and perceptions. There's just no winning. You're not helping yourself. You're just building on that desire to hate. Hatred is such a destructive feeling. Hatred is so unnatural. So unnatural. You're not born automatically hating everybody. No. When you were born, if you see kids will play with every type of kid they see. They don't care who they are, where they come from, what they look like, how old they are, what they have, what they don't have. They do not care. They just fully love to play, to be with others. It's only as we age and get older that we start to discriminate, that we start to hate, that we start to become intolerant of things and people. So hatred is so unnatural. It's so destructive. It's such an ugly thing to hold on to. Why hate? There's no reason to hate. There's no reason to dislike. You can disagree. You cannot agree. You can, whatever it may be. But you don't have to put yourself in such a position where you actively have to remind yourself or actively have to not like someone or hate someone. Because there has to be effort for you to hate something or someone. There has to be effort. You have to make the intentional intention to want to hate somebody. That requires work. Why? For what reason? So it's better to, if someone does something bad to you or did something negative or whatever it may be, best thing you can do is just like, well, it is what it is. Unless you have a time machine, you can go back and change things. If you do, I need to borrow that. But because we cannot go back and change things, we can't go back and change what people have done to us, what they've said to us, what we've done or said to them, we can't change the past. So there's no worry, there's no reason to worry about it or bring that up. It's done. The past is the past. They hurt you, you hurt them, it doesn't matter. Nobody should care. But we also cannot predict the future. We can't say, oh, maybe it'll get better in the future, or maybe it'll get worse in the future, or maybe nothing's going to happen in the future. That doesn't matter either. The only place and time you have control over is the present. How do you think now? How are you controlling your mind now? How are you seeing things? How are you thinking things? How are you saying things? And how are you doing things? Thought, speech, and action are the three things in the present moment that is the only thing you have full control over at any time, any place. So if you make the conscious decision to not let things bother you, which unfortunately most people cannot do, but if you have the willpower to do that, there is nothing in the world that will ever bother you. There's nothing in the world that will ever bring you down or hold you up, because you will see things as they are for what they are, as permanent, as things being caused by desire, by attachment, by love, by hate, whatever it may be, right? We have to see things for what they are. It is only then can we accept and allow change to happen. And that's the most important thing we can do. Go with Joe first, and then you guys.
A lot of cultures, they give a lot of significance, more on sorrow toward death. In Buddhist death, how is one supposed to approach the occasion? You said that you don't want the person to be in a wrong state before they pass. So I would imagine that the idea to go to Buddhist funeral would be to come with less remorse or less sorrow. And what would be the decorum, so to speak, when coming to a Buddhist funeral?
You'll always hear the Master say, stop crying, first of all. Crying is a very habitual thing that we do, right? It's almost what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost done routinely or automatically, right? But the only reason we cry is because we have an attachment toward this person that passed away. We lost the sense of control that we have around the relationship we have with that person. That sense of control, knowing that I can call them whenever I want them, I can see them whenever I want to, I can do this, I can do that. That sense of control has disappeared. That's one thing. The second thing is the attachment you have toward that person, right? So those are the two main reasons why we would cry and be sorrowful during funerals. But in Buddhism, we ask the loved ones to not cry, because from a super spiritual aspect of it is we don't want the deceased to cling to lingering in this world because people are crying for them, right? If you see someone crying, if a mother sees their child crying, what is her automatic reaction? To go and comfort them. Likewise, if the dead spirit is seeing their loved ones crying over them, they naturally want to cling to them, not leave. And so we ask that we do not cry. And so when we pray and we chant during funerals, is to encourage the dead and the living to live fully, to practice morality, to practice generosity, to develop wisdom, and to attain a higher state of realization. So it's a reminder for both the living and the dead. So funerals, Buddhist funerals, as sad as a funeral is in general, it's also a beautiful occasion to celebrate life. Because in Buddhism, death is not the end. It's just the end of this physical existence. We are simply wearing a bodysuit. We're on a business trip wearing this bodysuit. But as soon as our business trip is end, we go and we put on a different suit and we go to the next meeting. So, death is beautiful to me. I'm not afraid of dying. I accept it. I acknowledge it. I am waiting. I don't say waiting for it, but when the time comes, I will salute it and say, I'm ready.
So you come with less attachment, mostly, because I've gone to funerals and felt like I should feel attached, but kind of don't. It's trivial to me in a way. Well, it was trivial to me, right? You know, when
I mean, don't get me wrong. I meditate on death. For monastics, meditating on death is one of the three main meditation objects. It's because we see death all the time. This year alone, we've done like 5 funerals. And they're all sad. And so when you meditate on death, it helps you acknowledge and realize that death is simply the natural process of life. There is no escaping it. We can try as hard as we can to eat healthy, to exercise, to do what we need to do to live longer, but eventually you're still going to die. You may look good when you die, you're all buffed up and exercise, but you're still dead. But anyway, even for myself, I remember years ago when I first started meditating on death, I started with my mother. Thankfully, she is still alive. But I would come out of that meditation crying every single time. It's my mother. Who wants their mother to die, right? But the more you accept death for what it is, that there's no stopping it, there's no changing it, there's no wishing this or that for it, so there's no point to cling to that attachment. Don't get me wrong, when teacher passes away, I'm going to cry like a baby. I already know that for sure. But I also will know that it is what it is. He's just switching out his business suit for another one. He's wearing yellow this time, maybe he wants blue next time. I don't know. Yes, sir. Whichever sir wants to go. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. The practice of metta meditation or loving kindness meditation is one of the 3 main meditations for monastics also. But it is the intrinsic altruistic feeling to share that love to all beings. We start with ourselves. We start with ourselves because, not to be egotistical or anything, but you're important. We are important. You cannot help others if you cannot help yourself. Think of when a plane is decompressing, right, and the oxygen masks fall down. What do they tell you? Put your mask on first before you help others, right? So if you don't, then you're going to pass on, they're going to pass on, everyone just dies anyway. So what was the point? And so in meditation, we have to focus on ourselves first. We have to love ourselves. A lot of people don't love themselves, which is so sad. But we have to care for ourselves. We have to love us for who we are. We know that we are not all good, but we're also not all bad. And because we're not all good and we're not all bad, that means we have room to better ourselves. We have the opportunities to do better for ourselves. That way we can help others. And so after we conduct this altruistic feeling of love for ourselves, then we transfer that, we switch gears to those that we love, our parents, our siblings, our children, etc. Then you move on further, beyond that, your neighbors, your coworkers, your mailman. And then beyond that, the transient people that we see everywhere, right? The acquaintances, strangers. And then and then to those that you dislike. In Buddhism, there's no hatred. Right? You may dislike some people, but they too are deserving of love. And then lastly, you spread that love to all sentient beings, because all sentient beings desire to be loved. All sentient beings desire to be happy. There's not a single sentient being, animal or human, that wants to suffer. Right? But to Leon's point, we do that because we are so engrossed in our own lives and what goes on in our own minds that we forget that other people are going through similar things. We forget that other people's lives are also chaotic, that their lives are also very delicate, and they may be going through things that we just cannot see and we do not know. And yet we judge them because they're going through things. And we judge them based on those actions or those thoughts or opinions, whatever it may be. But their life is just as complex as yours. So you have no right to judge someone who is mistreating you, for instance, right? I use the example of someone cutting you off on the highway, right? Someone cuts you off. Our automatic reaction is to curse at them, to honk the horn, to flip them off, to pull a gun out maybe. I don't know, please don't do that. But that's our natural reaction. Because we're thinking, oh, how dare they cut me off? Who do you think they are? Don't they know that my time is just as important as their time? Don't they know that my car is 10 times more worthwhile than their car? But we do that because we're ignorant and we're stupid and we don't know what's going on. For all you know, there could be someone dying in the back seat. Someone could be giving birth. Someone could be bleeding out. They need to be getting somewhere for an emergency. You do not know what's going on. And because you do not know what's going on, you have zero space to pass any judgment until you know exactly what's going on. If you want to follow them and see where they end up and have a conversation of why they cut you off, then you can make your assessment of how dare you. But until then, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. The other thing that metta will do good for you is to give you some superpowers. One of my superpowers as a monk is being unoffendable. You cannot offend me. I encourage you to try because you become a teacher to me. But the way that I've developed that, I've told you this several times, is if someone's offending you or trying to offend you or trying to put you down or whatever it may be, there's a simple equation that you can ask yourself. Is it true? Someone's offending you. Well, that's nice. Just ask yourself, is it true? Is what they're saying true? Yes or no? If it's true, they know it and you know it, why are you upset? If it's not true, you know it and they probably also know it, so why are you upset? There's no point. They're just simply trying to get a reaction out of you or whatever it may be. But you give them that power when you react. You give them exactly what you want. And as soon as you've done that, you've lost. Okay, way out of time. So we will close that out. I also want to friendly reminder that this Saturday we will have a day of mindful working. So we'll have a volunteer day this Saturday starting at 9 to help prepare for the Ullambana ceremony the following week, the 18th. So I encourage everyone to please come and help. We have lots to do, and not very much time. So I will be very appreciative if we have lots of help for next Saturday. And then, of course, if you're interested in the Ullambana tablets, ancestral tablets, please scan the little code in the back. And I will see everyone next Sunday for Ullambana, 10 a.m. Okay, so we will transfer the mirror and then go to chanting. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. For any positive karmic action we have accumulated here today, we wish to transfer the merit to all sentient beings and wish them full enlightenment. Please go to page 215. I have to do this, teacher. Sorry, 216. For inviting the bell. Speech and mind and perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness and transcend all anxiety and sorrow. Listen, listen, this wonderful brings me back to my true home. Gratitude we offer this incense to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout space, and may it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting our careful efforts, our whole heart, mindfulness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Incense in the censer now is burning, all the Dharma realm in every auspicious clouds appearing, our sincere intention thus fulfilling, as all Buddhas now show their perfect body. Homage to the incense cloud canopy, Bodhisattva and great Bodhisattvas. Homage to the eternally abiding Buddhas, the supreme Dharma and sagely Sangha throughout the Dharma realm and the realm of empties, and 3 periods of time. To the fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Maitreya, honor future Buddha, Manjushri, great wisdom, Bodhisattva, universal, great
guarding Deva Bodhisattva, and the glorious mountain assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. To Amitabha Buddha in the land of ultimate bliss, Avalokiteshvara, great compassion, Bodhisattva, great strength, Bodhisattva, first or great vow, Bodhisattva, and the assembly of great pure sea light, Bodhisattva. Please sit down. Great compassionate Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Namo, great compassion, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Namo, great compassion, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Ratnatrayaya Namo Aryavalokiteshavaraya Bodhisattvaya Mahasattvaya Mahakarunikaya Om Ramaye Sodanada Namo Spidvahi Mamadya Parokiteshvara Ramdhava Namo Narakende Sri Mahavatswami Varhatu Shubham Ajiyam Sarvasattva Namo Vasava Namo Mavita Chala chala mama vimala bhaktilahiyahi shena shena asham prashari visha vishram prashaya horo horo mara horo horo hi sara sara siri siri soro soro bodhiya bodhiya bodhaya bodhaya maitreya narakinde vishamina payamana swaha siddhaya swaha maha siddhaya swaha siddhaya Svaraya Swaha Nara Swaha Maranara Swaha Sira Simha Mokaya Swaha Sarva Maha Siddhaya Swaha Chakra Siddhaya Swaha Padma Kasaya Swaha Nara Kindi Vagalaya Swaha Bhavadi Sankaraya Swaha Namo Ratnatrayaya Namo Arya Valokite Shvaraya Swaha Om Siddhyanto Mantra Padaya Swaha. My body is bringing morning light in concentration. My heart is happy. A half smile is born on my lips. This is a new day, and I vow to brew it in mindfulness. The sun of wisdom has risen, shining in every direction. Noble Sangha diligent, bring your mind into meditation. Namo Shakyamuni Buddhaya. Namo Shakyamuni Buddhaya. Namo Shakyamuni Buddhaya. Surpass profound and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Namo Shakya Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Ullambana, assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Ullambana, assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo Ullambana, assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Buddha speaks the Ullambana Sutra. Thus I have heard at one time the Buddha dwelt Ashravas in the garden of the benefactor of orphans and the solitary. Odgalayana had just obtained the 6 penetrations and wished to cross over his father and mother to repay their kindness for raising. Thus using his way, he regarded the world and saw that his deceased mother had been born among the hungry, having neither food nor drink. She was but skin and bones. Mahamodgalayana felt defeat and sadness, filled a bowl with food and went to provide for his mother. She got the bowl, screened it with her left hand, and with her right hand made a fist of blood. Before it entered her mouth, it turned into burning coals which could not be eaten. Mahamodgalayana called out and wept sorrowfully and hastened to return to the Buddha to set forth all of this. The Buddha said, "Your mother's offenses are deep and firmly rooted. You alone do not have enough power. Although your filial sounds move heaven and earth, the heaven spirits, the earth spirits, twisted demons, and those outside the Brahman. For heavenly kings gods are also without sufficient strength. The awesome spiritual power of the assembled Sangha of the 10 directions is necessary for liberation to be attained. I shall house a dharma of rescue which causes all those in difficulty to leave worry and suffering and to eradicate obstacles from offenses. The Buddha told Moggallana the 15th day of the 7th month is the Pravadana day for the assembled Sangha of the 10 directions, for the sake of fathers and mothers of 7 generations past, as well for the fathers and mothers of the present who are in distress. You should prepare offering of clear basins full of hundreds of flavors and the 5 fruits and other offer of incense, oil, lamps, candles, beds, and bedding, all the best of the world to the greatly virtuous assembled Sangha of the 10 direct. On that day all the whole whether in the mountains practicing dhyana samadhi, or obtaining the 4 fruits of the way, or walking beneath trees, or using the dependence of the 6 penetrations to teach and transform them, and those enlightened to conditions, or provisionally manifesting as bhikshus when in fact they are great bodhisattvas. On the 10th ground, all complete with pure precepts and ocean-like virtue of the holy way, should gather in a great assembly, and all of like mind receive the pravadana food. If one thus makes offerings to these pravadana sanghas, one's present father and mother, parents of 7 generations past, as well as the 6 kinds of close relatives, will escape from the 3 paths of suffer, and at the time attain release their clothing and full spontaneously appear. If the parents are still alive, they will have wealth and blessings for 100 years. Parents of 7 generations will be born in the heavens, transformationally born. They will independently enter the celestial flower light and experience limitless. At the time the Buddha commanded the assembled Sangha of the 10 directions to recite mantras and vows for the sake of the donor's family, for parents of 7 generations. After practice dhyana concentration, the Sangha accepted the food. When they first received the base, they placed it before the Buddha in the stupa. When the assembled Sangha had finished the mantras and vows, they received them. At the time the bhikshu Moggallana and the assembly of great bodhisattvas were all extremely delighted, and the sorrowful sound of Moggallana's crying ceased. At the time Moggallana's mother of liberation from 1 kalpa of suffering as a hungry ghost, Moggallana addressed the Buddha and said, this disciple's pair have received the power of the merit and virtue of the triple jewel because of the awesome spiritual power of the assembled Sangha. If in the future the Buddha's disciples practice filially by offering to the Ullambana basins, they will be able to cross over. And mothers as well as those of 7 generations past. The Buddha replied, good indeed, I am happy you asked that question. I just wanted to speak about that, and now you have also asked about it. Good man, if bhikshus, bhikshunis, king, crown princes, great ministers, ministers, officials, cabinet members, 100 ministers, and the tens of thousands of citizens wish to practice compassion and filial conduct for the sake of the pair who bore them, as well as for the sake of fathers and mothers of 7 lives past on the 15th day of the 7th, the day of the Buddha's delight, the day of the Sangha's pravarana. They all should hundreds of flavors of foods in the Ullambana base and offer them to the pravarana Sangha of the 10 directions. They should vow to cause the length of their present fathers and mothers' lives to reach 100 years without illnesses, without sufferings, afflictions, or worries, and also vow past 7 generations of fathers and mothers to leave the sufferings of the hungry ghosts to be born among humans and gods, and to have blessings and bliss without limit. The Buddha told all the good men and good women of the Buddha who cultivate filial conduct should in thought, afterthought, constantly recall their present fathers and mothers when making offerings, as well as the fathers and mothers of 7 lives past, and for their sakes perform the offering of the Ullambana base to the Buddha and the Sangha, and thus repay the loving kindness of the parents who raised and nourished them at the time the Bhikshu Moggallaya and the fourfold assembly of disciples, hearing what the Buddha said, practice it with delight. Namo Moggallaya Bodhisattva Mahasat. Namo Moggallaya Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Namo Moggallaya Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Heart of the Prajna Paramita. The Bodhisattva Avalokita while moving in the discourse of Prajna Paramita shed light on the 5 skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penance, he overcame ill-being. Listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is not other than emptiness, emptiness is not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all dharmas are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither defiled nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, in empty there is neither form nor feelings, no perceptions nor mental formations, nor consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object, mind, no realms of elements, no interdependent origins, and no extinction of them, no ill-being, no cause of ill-being, no end of ill-being, and no path, no understanding, no attainment, because there is no attainment. The Bodhisattvas ground in Prajna Paramita find no obstacle for their minds, having no obstacles they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas in the past, present, and future arrive at Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore one should know standing is the highest mantra, the unequaled mantra, the destroyer of ill-being, the incorruptible truth. The mantra of Prajna Paramita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhi Swaha. Namo Amitabhaya Tathagata Taryat Amrito Bhavi Amrita Siddham Bhavi Amrita Vikante Amrita Amrita Vikante Amrita Vikanta Gamini Gayana Kirta Kare Swaha Namo Amitabhaya Tathagataya Tadyata Amrita Va Amrita Siddham Bhavi Amrita Vikante Amrita Vikanta Gamini Gayana Kirta Kare Swaha. Take refuge in the Buddha, the one who showed me the way in this. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. In the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Refuge in the Buddha, in myself I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love, taking refuge in the Dharma. In myself I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation, taking refuge in the Sangha. In myself I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Citing the sutras, practicing the way of awareness gives rise to benefits without limits. We vow to share the fruits with all beings. We vow to offer tribute to parents, teachers, friends, and numerous beings who give guidance and support